Hey everyone, welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson. If you weren't aware, we are currently in the midst of awards season, counting down to the 91st Academy Awards on the 24th of February. And one of the interesting movies in this year's race to the Oscars is If Beale Street Could Talk, which is Moonlight director Barry Jenkins' luminous and very beautiful adaptation of the 1974 novel by James Baldwin. And just a little bit of background, I read this. I actually got the book for Christmas. This and I read it very quickly. It's not a very substantial book. It's about 200 pages. But knowing that the film was going to come out, I read the book fairly rapidly and was utterly engrossed by its mixture of poetry and hard hitting racial politics and sense of injustice. And James Baldwin's a very, very famous speaker and author and activist. He was the subject of a really compelling documentary called I'm Not Your Negro, which came out a couple of years ago. Those of you who haven't seen it and who are interested in Beale Street and the author, I would recommend you go and watch that because it's very compelling look at him as a person. So now the story comes to the big screen from Barry Jenkins, as I said, the director behind Moonlight, which was the Oscar-winning sensation from a couple of years ago. Whereas that film examined the three stages in the life of a gay black man in Florida in the 1990s. What If Beale Street Could Talk does is it takes it back to Harlem in the 1970s and focuses on Fonnie and Tish, young couple played by Stephen James and Kiki Lane, who have known each other since childhood, but whose sort of childhood affection has actually blossomed into a very deep-seated, very sincere romance, and they are falling head over heels for each other. Tish then gets pregnant, which then happens to very tragically coincide with Fonnie being sent to prison falsely on a rape charge. And what then happens is that Tish has to work with her family, her very loving and very devoted family. This is a movie that depicts the love of a family as being stable and together, completely unironically. She has to work with them to try and help get Fonnie out of prison. This plays into the whole idea of racial inequality and racial prejudice in Harlem in 1970s America. So what you get is, those of you who saw Moonlight will know that the way Barry Jenkins is able to sort of glide between different points of view, different timelines is really quite beautiful. It happens almost imperceptibly. And what you get is in this movie, he reunites with that film's cinematographer, James Laxton, to create this similarly intoxicating sensual atmosphere. Of course, in Moonlight, whereas you've got this sort of shimmering array of like blues, blacks, deep colours, what you get in this movie, given the nature of the story and the nature of the setting, what you get is this lovely kind of like glowing, at least around the romantic sequences, the sequences in which we're established with Fonnie and Tish and their relationship in the early part of their pregnancy. It's so beautifully and sensually filmed, and again accompanied by a score from Nicholas Britell, which has been Oscar nominated, which moves from this kind of these like repetitious string arpeggios through these sort of quasi clarinet jazzy riffs. It's absolutely gorgeous. So the movie enraptures you in the love that is shared between these two characters and does it brilliantly. And of course, it plays into Barry Jenkins' strength in directing act as well. The acting from everybody in this film is so exquisitely poised. It's exactly how I imagine the characters from the book. The body language of everybody, not just the two leads, but everyone is spot on. This extends to Regina King, who I think is going to get Best Supporting Actress in this for playing Tish's mum, Sharon, who she is the glue that is holding everything together. She is really the strength of it. You've also got very small but very affecting appearances from the likes of Diego Luna, Pedro Pascal and James Franco. All of whom are all they have, those three actors that I've just cited there, have got very limited screen time. It's a testament to how well Barry Jenkins directs actors, that they inhabit the roles as much as they do, and that they have just as much impact as the lead characters. So beautifully filmed, really well shot with an eye for Baldwin's prose, because obviously the film can't literally put the prose on the screen, so it has to substitute the prose for visuals and for physical performance. And there is a scene, in those who've read the book will know, there's a scene with a character played by Brian Tyree Henry, who appears to be very gregarious, but is having just come out of prison, he's hiding these feelings of paranoia and anguish. And what the movie as this conversation between him and Fonny starts, it is almost like an imagined conversation that Tish thinks they're having, and the angle is from one side, and then when Tish actually comes into the scene and they continue talking, the camera then switches to the other side. So it's almost like you've got the perceived conversation, and then her perception of the actual conversation that goes on. So you've got these lovely kind of subtle visual clues that again replicate the power of Baldwin's prose very, very well. I think that Jenkins is reverential but not slavish to the text. He also critically understands the real rage and anger that underpins this, and the fact that one of the best ways to fight back against any kind of prejudice is to ensure your own legacy. I mean, one thing it's to not give any visible signs that this is getting on top of you, but also how do you establish your own legacy as a family? And this plays into the aspect of the pregnancy and so on. So there is grit under the fingernails. There is real rage in the movie, as those who've read the book will come to expect. It hits hard when it needs to, but mostly what it does is it sort of envelops you in this completely unironic love story between these two central characters. But it's not only the physical romance between the two of them, it's also again the love between Tish and her family, and they are absolutely together. They are absolutely bound together on this destiny to try and get Fonny out of jail. And how lovely it is to see a family depicted without any sense of cynicism or irony or bitterness. I mean, that comes straight from the novel, and it's great to see Jenkins being so loyal to that. Yeah, I thought it was a really, really, really powerful, really impressive film. It left me with lots of questions, as the book did. It left me thinking, and I've no doubt it will do for you as well. It's been, it's been sort of touted as kind of awards contender, so we'll see how well it does in sort of various awards circles. But either way, don't let that determine whether you go and see it or not. Just go and watch it, because it's another triumph from Barry Jenkins. It's called If Beale Street Could Talk. So drop me a comment here at Kubrick Corner with your thoughts, and I'll see you soon. Bye.